You know, if you're sitting in the back, you got the best seats like good Episcopalians should, but you don't have the props that are in the front seats, so you might just want to reach up and pick one for yourself. Oh, we've got plenty more, I assure you. I've entitled today's forum, Now What?
Can I ask a question? How many of these people, were any of you delegates to convention? Okay.
So a couple will have seen something about this. Although actually they might have missed that because they were downstairs with the gold copy presentation.
Oh, okay.
All right, just a reminder, last week was the annual meeting. There are copies of the annual report available, just a couple of images from the day. In particular, I had to make sure I got a picture of Bill wearing his tie with all those happy faces on it. Because the year before, I have a picture of Bill similarly dressed, except then he's got a different tie on. It's the Scream. Because, of course, last year, Bill's task was to convince us that it really was a good idea to pass a $36,000 deficit. And he did. And this year he got to come back and say, gosh, we covered that $36,000 deficit and then some. And so he got to share that good news. So he was feeling remarkably upbeat.
He called that his happy tie.
His happy tie. So just a moment to pause. Those of you who are at the annual meeting, just checking the gauge of things. This is, of course, those of you who do Facebook. This is the range of options they give you for how to respond to a post on Facebook. So if my post were annual meeting, tell me what your reaction is.
Ha ha.
Ha ha. I got a ha ha.
Thumbs up.
A thumbs up.
Yeah.
Right.
Love.
Wow.
Love.
Yeah.
A wow.
That was pretty wow. Yeah.
Any sads or angries?
Wow.
All right.
The budget was wow.
Yeah.
Good.
That's a
Move
good thing.
along. This is excellent.
That's what we like to hear. Yeah. What the reactions are all on this end of the range. That's good. When they're over here,
Andy said the food was good.
the food was good.
Retreat into Hawaii.
Just a reminder, the written reports are available. There's some on the table over there by the bulletin board behind Joan. Wave, Joan.
Sorry.
Why don't you point to him like Vanna White? Here you go. There's also some in the table as you come into the church. So the written reports are available. The text of my State of the Cure is online. No, it's not. Our website hasn't been working all week. Not since at least Wednesday morning. I don't know quite when it went down. I'm going to post, I
Did
think,
it crash
on Facebook.
because of popularity?
No.
Yes.
No.
Because we don't have a cell phone tower nearby.
It's because of GoDaddy. GoDaddy, who used to have, I think they've taken things up a little bit these days. Well, White can watch the Super Bowl this afternoon. But GoDaddy used to have the world's trashiest commercials for their product. And for some reason, we still paid them money to host our website. And GoDaddy has been migrating the website this week, whatever the heck that means. And they told us repeatedly, oh, it will be taken care of soon. Oh, it will be taken care of. Oh, it will be taken. And they haven't lived up to their promises. At one point, they told Bill, well, we have, according to our terms of agreement, up to 72 hours to accomplish a migration when this sort of thing happens. And that's all well and good, but they were at 96 hours as of yesterday, and still this morning when I checked, not up. That is not a good way to do business. So I might just put on Facebook my own little campaign to undercut the popularity of GoDaddy and say, GoDaddy.
On.
But apparently we paid for a 5-year contract recently, so we're not looking to make a change right away. So maybe you can find it on our website. I presume it will eventually reappear. Again, as of this morning, it still wasn't there. Someday. And then we have photos over there posted, some of the images that we projected onto the screen. Just a small point. Next year, we have every expectation that it will be over at St. Helens Hall. and instead of using a screen, and our very good, though somewhat lower quality projector here will be over next door with a higher quality projector, and I think we'll probably project everything up on the big wall like we did on Christmas Eve. So that should make it easier for people to pay attention at home. So stay tuned. Shrove Tuesday, remind you that's coming up. See, the title today, John, is Now What? Now What? So there's a lot of catching up. Shrove Tuesday, I remind you, is February 13th, the week from Tuesday. The men of the parish are working to prepare pancakes. They're already mobilized. We will have some fun and games. We might wear masks if Julie found them. Did you find them? Oh, we might wear masks. And of course, my pyromania comes out, and we'll burn the palm branches that you will have remembered to bring. This year, I'm not going to be giving you a trivia quiz like I have in last year. Last year's trivia quiz was pretty passionately resented by the person with whom I live. I got home and she said, "What was up with that? That was not fun." So I'm not going to do that again. But I thought it might be fun for us to fill out our brackets, and so we'll have copies of the Saintly scorecard available, and we'll have individual brackets for you to fill out, and you can work collectively, or you can do your own work and submit your own bracket, and we will decide who among us is most prescient when it comes to knowing how this is all going to play out. And then, of course, Ash Wednesday services at noon and at 7. The noon service will feature participants and members of the congregation from Grace First Lutheran Church and Nativity Lutheran Church. Good morning and welcome. The preacher at the noon service is Erica Spate. Erica is a new church planter. And she's working with Lutherans and Episcopalians and just getting to know the community, and is looking to start something new because it's recognized by some that with the growth in our community, it would be good to have another church that is not subscribing to all things evangelical and conservative, but might have a different voice and character. So Erica I've had a chance to meet her. I think if you're interested in knowing a little bit about something like that, you'd want to come and just hear her, get to meet her a little bit. That's not what she's going to be preaching about, of course. She's preaching Ash Wednesday, but it'd be nice just to meet her. She was told by Chris Kramer and Dave Beckett, who are kind of overseeing the project, that they needed a church on that side of town. Because on that side of town, all that's going in, where a lot of growth is happening, all that's going in is fellowship churches and the like, and we needed something else. We needed a foothold up there. And she arrived and said, "Yeah, that's not how I'm going to do it. I'm going to come and meet people, listen to people, and I'm going to decide. I'm going to, with other people, discern where it needs to be. I'm not going to do what you tell me I have to do." So she was pretty clear about that from the very beginning. I'm just going to come and figure out what the need really is, not just assume that you got it right. So anyhow, but it will be a full Ash Wednesday service at noon, and of course our own service in the evening at 7 with choir. And we have in the newsletter the rule for Lent. Of course, you'll have seen that. Encouragement for you to engage in the traditional Lenten disciplines of prayer and fasting and the giving of alms. Wednesdays in Lent this year, I want to make sure that's clear because we've done Thursdays the last couple of years. Wednesdays in Lent, the time is just a little different. If you remember really well from last year, we're going to start it at 5 instead of 5:30 with a simple liturgy in the sanctuary. 5:45 we're going to gather here, and there'll be sign-up sheets next week for you to participate in the soup portion of things. And then we're going to have a gathering. The shorthand way of putting it, Kathy, in an email said something about Bible study. and that's a shorthand way of putting it, but probably not Bible study, because I think the term just sounds a little bit specific, and I'm not sure it's going to be quite whatever the words Bible study mean to you. So a chance for us to engage in the scriptures, to reflect on them, to have a conversation about them, certainly, and there's probably some study involved, but I wouldn't make that the lead. It's fine for shorthand, I get it, so that's fine. Yes, ma'am?
We don't have to buy a book ahead of time like
So
we
you don't have to buy a book ahead of time. So I'll tell you, there's a couple reasons for the changes. One of the reasons for the changes is that by doing it on Wednesdays instead of Thursdays, my hope is that choir members can come and be part of it. I had avoided Wednesdays because I didn't want to do it on the same night as choir. I felt like that would be competition. But after the suggestion was raised, why are you covering up? I took your suggestion, Julie. After the suggestion was raised of moving it from Thursdays to Wednesdays, I checked with the choir, and it doesn't really surprise me. They weren't really likely to come out Wednesday and then turn around and come back on Thursday anyhow. So it isn't really competition. And what's more, it seems by moving the schedule the way we have, it actually might invite them to come and join us for part of our Lenten program. And I've always designed it in 3 parts so that people can come to whatever part or parts they want to. Which is why when we're sitting here at 5:35 after the service wanting to eat, I say we can't eat yet. We don't eat until 5:45 because somebody might be coming just for the supper part. And it's rude to be sitting down eating when people arrive on time. So we will have the supper at 5:45. And the hope is that maybe choir members would come for those first 2 parts. And then at 6:30 go for choir rehearsal. And then we move the schedule up just a little bit, just a half hour, so that we can be done at 7:30. So the choir can come up from downstairs and actually rehearse in the sanctuary a little bit. Because I'm told by musicians it makes a big difference to hear yourselves in the space in which you're actually going to be singing for a service. And so we'll try and make that work for all concerned. So that's that change. And the Bible study wasn't, or Bible study, see, I did it myself.
Well, it is a Bible. I mean, it is studying parts of the Bible. It just happens to be the gospel parts.
And it's not going to be, I don't think, just a head trip. And that's where the Bible study comes into mind. I think when people hear Bible study, they think, well, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about the Bible, we're going to read the Bible, we're going to learn about the Bible. And we might do some of that, but really my hope is more it's engaging it. So the other piece of the reason for the change is to do that this year, and this is all experimental. If all of it or any part of it doesn't work, we can go back and do something different next year. But instead of having a book, and maybe having people after the first week said, "Oh, I haven't been able to do my reading. I just really probably shouldn't go." And so rather than sort of set people up for failure, the hope was everybody every week starts in the same place because we're all looking ahead to the gospel that will be read that week.
I agree, Peggy. It's wonderful.
Well, we'll see. The proof is in the pudding. Anyhow, stay tuned. But that's the reason behind those changes. And as I say, and I'm glad I had occasion to remember to say it now, all of this is just experimental. And so if any of it or all of it doesn't work, we can go back to doing something more like what we did last year.
Or go forward to doing something.
Question.
Yes. Answer.
Is it reflection on the previous week's gospel?
It'll be the coming week.
The coming week, okay.
Yeah.
No pressure when you have to preach on the whenever at 25th.
So yeah, you might want to come and hear what people think it means, John. Sundays of Lent.
Or what they think of the gospel in case I go off on a totally different tangent.
Well, as you'll appreciate, one of the wonders, and this is for me part of the proof of the pudding of Scripture, one of the catechism questions asked about how do we know this is inspired? And part of the answer is because it still works. And
It's the
we
work.
come,
It's the works.
it works.
Still relevant.
We come back to these same texts over and over and over again, and they still speak to us.
Yeah.
And they speak to us differently
Right.
as individuals, and they preach to us individually differently over time. So just because we had a whole group meeting and talking and reflecting and engaging and coming out of it saying, wow, this has changed my life this way, the preacher might come in a few days later and say, you know what this really means is. And they might not be the same, but that doesn't mean anybody's wrong.
Right.
There you have it.
There's a lot of churches who don't believe that.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
I think it was Origen, Origen, one of those early people. I think it was Origen who said something about the keys to the Bible. No. I'm sorry. This is actually a rabbinic teaching about the Bible, that there are 144,000 facets
Oh my
to
gosh.
every word in the Bible, representing 12,000 from the 12 tribes gathered around. And so if there are 144,000 facets to every word in the Bible, how can any of us imagine to get it?
That's where Midrash comes in.
So,
Exactly.
all right, and I've already mentioned that we'll have our brackets out next week, and we have some of these will be available next week on a first come, first served basis. The others will be held back for Shrove Tuesday, where I'll make sure every table has at least a couple. So stay tuned for that. Remind you about ERD. We'll have Lenten devotions out next week, and Hope Chests out, I think, next week as well. Marie Suri is working on that project. And so much more, including the forum. We'll talk about mortality using this video and referencing the book. If you know of the book, or you have the book, or you've thought about the book, and you want to read it, I might suggest this is a good time to do it. I'm not asking that anybody read the book as preparation for the forum, but some of us have read the book, and it inevitably is the background for whatever it is we bring forward to this. So if you're interested, it's a good Lenten reading.
It's a good book, period.
It's a good book, period.
It's a good read anytime. It seems especially apt for Lent.
So are you saying we're going to watch a video?
We're gonna use this video for a couple of our sessions during the forum time. It's an hour. It's 50 minutes. So I think I'm going to probably figure out where I can break about 20-25 minutes into it, and then do the other half on the second Sunday, and then some time to talk about it. Then we'll do a little bit. Dave Carroll's offered to do some estate planning and maybe some funeral planning.
You have to wait for Rick to get back.
Can you wait till I get back to show the video?
No. Probably show the video on the first 2 Sundays in Lent. I actually haven't sketched out my plan in any detail, but that makes the most sense to me, the first 2 Sundays. But I'll loan it to you afterwards. Okay. This really is what I wanted to spend some time talking about with you today. And whatever we talk about today, whatever we finish today, or whatever we do today isn't the end of it. Probably. Unless after the end of this conversation, we all agree this is a huge waste of time, which I don't expect we will. So I intend this really to be an opening of a conversation, not the end of it. At the Diocesan Convention this past fall, the Commission on Ministry offered a presentation about, they gave out these bookmarks about these 3 words: gather, transform, and send. And I'll come back and explain more about that, but you might want to have at hand one of those bookmarks. I put them on the chairs in the front because I know you good Episcopalians will sit in the front.
We're good.
I thought
I
Gil
know.
was out.
Some of you are. So we'll come back to that in a minute. I wanted to sort of lead into it a little bit because it occurs to me that not everybody here knows. I'm going to share a 10-minute video about Gather, Transform, Send. But before I do that, I actually want to do a little commercial. The video makes reference to Tim Hortons. How many of you know what Tim Hortons or who Tim Horton is? I tried to get Milry to stay after the 8 o'clock service because she cares passionately about this. Tim Hortons is a Canadian institution. And since I've kind of assumed you all didn't know that, I thought I'd give you just a little bit of background information before we see the video. talking to us if we let them. Anyhow, and Milry said that, she was very excited to hear I was going to talk about Tim Hortons this morning. Not excited enough to stay, but that's another story. But she was very excited about it, and she said, but Jerry, for some reason, just doesn't like the coffee. Which I'm guessing is a fair assessment. My guess is the coffee is pretty nasty, but that's just maybe my American bias. So, anyhow, Tim Hortons, a Canadian institution, as they allow, and I know enough Canadians to know that in fact it really is a Canadian institution.
So why did you do that?
It has something to do with what's coming.
It's just a lead-in. It's just a lead-in, a little bit of context.
Teaser.
Because now I'm going to share with you this video from a group called Keeping Anglicans Talking, which bothers me just a little bit. I don't care that that's why I do kind of care it's Marla's birthday. Keeping Anglicans Talking, it bothers me a little bit because it's from the Church of Canada, and it seems like it ought to be a C, but, keeping. Instead of K-A-T, it should be cat, C-A-T, because it's Canadian. I'm sorry.
But
Keeping.
But
K is for keeping.
I know why. I just... As I said before, I really do envision this to be an introduction to the conversation. As I'm hearing her again, I listened earlier to this video, watched this video earlier this week. As I listened to her again, it occurred to me that we probably need minimally, if we're going to do it in this context, minimally 3 sessions to talk about gathering, transforming, and sending. Minimally 3, and probably more than that, truth be told. So, initial reactions.
Doable.
Doable. And by doable, what about it makes it doable, do you think?
I feel that our congregation is open enough to learn and to then perform.
Well, my personal experience is that when I came to Trinity, being brought by Tom from another church.
So he invited. So yeah, you'll put your little bookmarks there, and you'll see the different words that she referred to are listed there. He invited you.
He invited me, and one of the first things, well, actually the second date we had was to a 4th of July party given by a church member for church members. Then I was invited to go to the Altrea meeting, which was the gathering of people who had attended Crucio. Even though I hadn't attended, I was warmly welcomed, so I felt welcome. And so then I got involved in learning more about the church through, at that time there was something kind of like our geographic, what do you call it, convocation, where there was a group from all of the churches in our convocation who met together for ordering supplies and things like that, that we could get cheaper.
Oh, okay.
So I got involved in that, and then there I learned about education for ministry. And the education for ministry was the transforming part. And at the end of that, then I was sent with Stephen's ministry training, the hospital training, and taking Eucharist out, All of those things have continued for almost 20 years now. And the church did all of that, you know. I mean, without the transformation, the sending wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have gone to all of these other things. And it's, in one aspect, it sounds just pretty ordinary and all. But I can tell you that sitting with people, I've had opportunities to connect with them in ways that I would not feel comfortable, because I have trouble small talking with people I know, but strangers have no expectations of me. And so I don't have to worry about, am I performing? I can just be whatever God wants me to be.
So I mean, there's a couple of things that occurred to me to respond to that, and you talked about it in terms of sort of a 20-year arc in the video. I think she imagines this more as a weekly arc.
Well, but it started out weekly.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I was just fascinated by the fact that you did this too.
Over and over again, because the church keeps supporting me, because I keep learning new things and feeling new things. And the thing about experience is very important, because what you can learn something in your head, but that isn't the same. It's when you have an experience that then you can reflect on how that fits with what you learned in your head. That's where the transformation happened. And without that connection of the two, it's just not the same. You know, I mean, I think I've met some people who have a lot of head knowledge and are very certain in their beliefs, who need some more experience.
Rick, you want to add something?
Yep. You know, I've been using this as a bookmark ever since convention.
Yeah.
And wondered, what the heck is that all about? And that was helpful. And it describes what I've always felt about my experience with my church. And I would look forward to taking each one of those and going into detail, because it's important.
Rather naively, I imagined we might go into some detail with this today, and clearly that was just a bad idea from the get-go. I mean, we did a lot of preliminary stuff, but I think we kind of needed to do that as well, to catch up with ourselves a little bit, and to look ahead a little bit.
So we're not going to go into detail on these?
Not today.
Not today.
I just don't. I mean, it's 10 o'clock. I just don't think it would be.
No. I
thing.
was thinking later.
Yeah, but I think it sounds like this would be helpful, and particularly listening to this video again today, it occurs to me how just very concrete and tangible the invitation is in that. So this is I think this was the Diocese of Spokane used this information, and it was there that I found this particular graphic, and in the video she mentions it. For whatever reason, it spends a lot of time, fleshing out transformation without fleshing out the others. I don't think there's anything wrong with fleshing out transformation, but it's not similarly unpacked for the others. But particularly what I wanted to leave us with at some point was the notion that this is envisioned as a cycle. So we are continually, and she said it in the video so well, we are continually invited back in and gathered back in. And continually being given opportunities for transformation, and continually being sent out. And she mentioned it, Peg, you mentioned about daily sort of routine kinds of lives, and she mentioned that very specifically, back into our ordinary lives, and yet sent out with perhaps a different heart, a different attitude, a different way of looking at things, and then we come back again. The other piece, and I haven't really figured out exactly how I'd want to unpack this, but I think it needs to be, is this notion of the context. Because the context in which we find ourselves doing what we're doing differs from place to place. And she did talk about that a little bit. I'm trying to remember how she expressed it, but at some point she did, in the video, talk about the difference it makes where you are and what you're trying to do. Again, actually, the Tim Hortons thing is I think worth remembering because that's a very specific context, and they do things that way for them for very particular reasons. And it might be in some ways helpful to step back from our own situation and look at why do they do what they do? Oh wait, why do we do what we do? Sometimes you need a little distance to be able to sort of look at what's going on there. So I'm going to have to leave this alone because it's after 10 and there's a great sermon coming at the 10:15 service.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, obviously we can and I look forward to spending some more time. It'll probably, if we're going to do it on a Sunday morning, it's probably going to be something we spend some time with after Holy Week, sometime in the Easter season. This might be really the perfect time to do that in any event. So I thank you for being here today.